Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the Conflict Resolving Network YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Adam Lodzinski. Today's topic is all about violation. Now, violation is the third of the four essentials of conflict and conflict resolution. You'll remember we've got loss, intent. Now, the third is violation, and the fourth is responsibility. Okay, so we're diving in today on violation. So for there to be a conflict, there has to be a loss. Somebody has to have said or done something that creates a loss. It had to be intentional. It had to break a rule. In other words, it had to violate a rule around how you're supposed to treat one another. And of course, with respect to responsibility, that person has to be able to take responsibility or should take responsibility for whatever it was that they said or did. Now, violation, in some ways, is the easiest of the four to use, either to understand or recognize what kind of a conflict is going on, as well as using it to help resolve a conflict. In other words, using that particular third essential as a conduit, as a channel of communication around what happened, and perhaps be able to either resolve the conflict or at least try to find a kind of a softer landing to the situation. Okay, so what is violation? Well, first of all, as we all know, pretty much every kind of relationship has rules that more or less govern how each person is supposed to treat one another. Now, some of these rules come from culture and upbringing and that kind of thing. Also, there's an active part to this. There's an ever-changing part to this in relationships. So relationships can, in fact, evolve and do over time, and over time develop a set of rules. Now, this I go into in much more detail in Chapter 1, but here's what I think are some key points to bear in mind. When you've got a violation, the question is, well, should the other person have known any better? Could this rule that you violated be something that the other person isn't aware of? In which case, the conflict is not as serious, or may not be as serious at all. And now, another thing, is it fair to expect that person to be aware of the rule? In some cases, it's not. And I'll give you an example of that. Early on in a lot of relationships, you don't know each other very well, or as well as you eventually hopefully will. So you're kind of finding out about one another. You're finding out what you like, what you don't like. And as that relationship builds, and as the things that you know about one another add up, you create this sort of set of rules. Now, I also refer to this as a relationship menu, the relationship menu, and we'll talk about that in a completely new video, because there's a lot to that concept. But I think you get the idea that as you get to know somebody, you find out what they like, what they don't like, what you should do, what you should not do, and what they expect, what they don't expect, and vice versa. So it's it's reciprocal. It's not just you in relation to them, but also them in relation to you. So the fairness of whether or not you think that they should know better is another question. Now, here's where it also gets a little bit interesting. Sometimes, there are differences, generational differences, cultural differences. Even language differences. Customs can vary from culture to culture, and even the expectations. So when we've got a violation, sometimes we can clear it up with the fact that it isn't to be expected that the other person or you, and if you've done or said something that's a violation, you could probably know about. Now, obviously, once you do know about it and it's clear, e.g., someone says, well, I've told you a million times that X, Y, or Z, a repeated violation like that it's clearly it's clearly something that the other person should know better about. Now, we get into one other issue here, and that's something that needs a little clarification. What's a rule and what's an expectation? These are overlapping, but I think they're a little bit distinct. Obviously, if we've got rules about how we're supposed to treat one another, we can probably assume that that's an expectation. So, I expect you to treat me with respect, for example. I expect you to treat me with respect. That's a simple rule, and it's a simple expectation. Sometimes people get into trouble, and this becomes conflict, kind of conflict creating, is when they've got an expectation about someone's behavior and what they're supposed to do, but there isn't an agreement on that. So rules, and this is a key point, whatever rules you've got going on with somebody as you get to know them, maybe some of them you really don't have to talk about, they're so basic, but you have to kind of agree. You have to have something between you that either it's unstated or it's stated at some point, an agreement. You can't expect someone to treat you a certain way if you haven't ever talked about it, and B, you haven't kind of agreed to it. Okay, so the agreement is a key point. So there's awareness of what your rules are or should be or could be, but there's also the necessity to agree on those things. And if you can agree on those things, then you've got some basis on which to have expectations that are in line with the nature of your relationship. So I'm going to leave that point for now, and we'll pick up on that point a little more when we're talking about the fourth essential of conflict resolution, which is responsibility. That'll be in either the next video or a video following very soon after. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, please let me know. Please comment. Please like. Please share. That would be great. It would mean a lot to me. And as I've mentioned before, if there's something specifically you have a question about that relates to what I've talked about in one of my videos, please put it in the comment section, and I will try to address it as best I can in a future video. So that's it for now. Please take care, and all the best till next time.